For more than 6 decades, Patricia MacArthur stood quietly beside the man the world knew as Pastor John MacArthur. To her, he wasn't just a preacher or theologian. He was her partner, her protector, her one true love. Their journey was marked by unwavering faith, shared sacrifice, and a quiet devotion that spoke louder than any sermon. As John's earthly life drew to a close, Patricia remained where she had always been, at his side, faithful to the very end. Her final tribute is not filled with fanfare, but with tears, memories, and the weight of a love that endured through every storm. In this sacred goodbye, we witness the beauty of a marriage held together by grace, truth, and a lifelong promise kept. Meeting Patricia. Quiet strength in a changing world. Patricia was not someone who sought the spotlight. She wasn't drawn to the stage or the loud moments. Instead, she was steady, kind-hearted, and deeply grounded in her faith. Their first meeting wasn't a dramatic or cinematic moment, but something far more lasting and real. A meeting through mutual friends and church connections where two lives slowly began to intersect. John was growing in conviction, his passion for the Word deepening. Patricia was watching, sensing the hand of God guiding her own journey, quietly observing the unfolding story of her life. There was no rush, no grand gestures or declarations. Instead, there was a sense of solidness, an unmistakable rightness that settled between them. Their relationship blossomed on a foundation of prayer, shared values, mutual respect, and an unwavering love for God's Word. John, already showing the resolve that would define his preaching style, was drawn to Patricia's humility and quiet strength. She admired not ambition or charisma, but his seriousness about God, his moral clarity, and his deep humility. In turn, John found in Patricia something rare and precious, a woman who believed in his calling wholeheartedly and was willing to support it from behind the scenes, never demanding recognition or praise for herself. A marriage rooted in faith and determination. They married in 1963, two young souls bound by faith and a shared calling. They had no riches, no fame, and no guarantees about the road ahead. What they had was each other, and a commitment that went far beyond any earthly ambition. Patricia became John's quiet strength, the steady rock while he preached, studied, and led. She raised their 4 children, managed their home, and carried burdens that the world would never see. She was the calm in his storms, the listening ear when he was weary, and the faithful partner who never sought the spotlight but was indispensable nonetheless. Their home was a place where biblical truth was lived out daily, not just preached on Sundays. Patricia taught gentleness and hospitality. John demonstrated discipline and doctrine. Together, they built a sanctuary of love and structure, a place where laughter was welcomed and heart-to-heart conversations were encouraged. Despite John's growing responsibilities, leading a large congregation, authoring hundreds of books, and founding significant evangelical institutions, Patricia ensured their family remained the center. Holidays were sacred, meals were shared, and biblical discipline was balanced with abundant love. Building a ministry and a family. Growing together through the decades. John MacArthur's name became nearly synonymous with evangelical preaching over the course of his remarkable career. Week after week, Sunday after Sunday, his sermons at Grace Community Church were more than just talks. They were lifelines to many. Crowds gathered in the church sanctuary, while countless more tuned in from living rooms, offices, and remote corners of the world through radio broadcasts and later digital streaming. His influence was far-reaching. More than 150 books bore his name, offering teaching and encouragement on everything from biblical doctrine to practical Christian living. But his impact wasn't confined to the pulpit or pages of a book. John's vision gave birth to institutions like the Master's Seminary and the Master's University, places that have trained thousands of pastors and leaders who continue to shape churches around the globe. Through these channels, his theological legacy has become woven into the fabric of evangelical Christianity. Grace to You, his media ministry, expanded that reach even further. Millions of people across continents listened, watched, and learned. Yet, amid all this growing acclaim and the whirlwind of public ministry, Patricia MacArthur remained exactly who she was from the start: the quiet, steady heart behind the pulpit. Patricia never craved the spotlight. She never toured with John or sought to carve out a public ministry of her own. Instead, her ministry was profoundly private, a ministry of prayer, unshakable support, and a fierce commitment to their family. When the world called John to speak on stages large and small, Patricia was the gentle voice reminding him of the sacredness of home, the place where his heart belonged and from which he drew strength. A life of modesty and generosity. John MacArthur's decades-long ministry brought him considerable influence and financial success. Yet he and Patricia never sought or embraced the trappings of wealth that so often accompany prominent figures. Their lifestyle was marked by quiet humility, a simplicity that felt deeply rooted in their shared values and faith. They lived modestly, not out of necessity alone, but from a conviction that true richness was not counted in possessions or status. Their generosity reflected this ethos. It was never about public recognition or grand gestures meant to draw attention. Instead, it was a steady, unassuming stream of giving, helping pastors who needed training, supporting ministries with little fanfare, and quietly blessing individuals and families who crossed their path. For the MacArthurs, the measure of a life well lived was not in bank accounts or luxury cars, but in the countless lives transformed by God's grace through their ministry. Behind John's tireless preaching and writing stood Patricia, the steady heartbeat of their shared journey. Often described as the silent partner, she was the quiet strength behind every achievement. While John's voice reached thousands through sermons and books, Patricia's influence was woven through the everyday details, encouraging her husband during late-night study sessions, managing their home, nurturing their children, and praying without ceasing. Without her unwavering presence, many of John's accomplishments might have remained out of reach. Trials and triumphs, facing hardship together. Their story, like any marriage, was not without its challenges. Life's hardships tested their resilience, health issues, family pressures, the strain of public scrutiny, and spiritual battles that unfolded behind closed doors. Despite these trials, the bond they shared remained unshaken. In 2023, the world witnessed a rare moment of vulnerability when Patricia suffered a serious fall that led to hospitalization. It was a stark reminder that even the strongest pillars can falter. This painful moment came just months after John himself faced a critical health scare, undergoing heart surgery for the first time. For many, these events might have been overwhelming, but for John and Patricia, they were simply seasons in a long journey, a journey walked hand in hand. These moments revealed something profoundly human beneath the public image. Two people, deeply devoted to each other and to their faith, leaning on one another with grace and courage. Their story was not one of perfection, but of perseverance. Together, they faced the unknown with faith as their foundation and love as their anchor. A testament of love and partnership. John's words about Patricia carried a tenderness that transcended mere affection. He often called her his greatest earthly gift, a tribute that grew even more poignant in the years when her health became fragile. Their relationship was a testament to a love that was steadfast, patient, and deeply rooted in shared purpose. But it wasn't just their family who felt Patricia's impact. Across the globe, countless believers who knew John through his ministry came to love Patricia indirectly. They prayed for her, admired her quiet strength, and honored the vital role she played in supporting a man whose life touched millions. As of July 2025, John MacArthur faced a critical battle with pneumonia, a harsh test for someone who had spent a lifetime preaching about endurance and faith. Through this difficult season, Patricia remained faithfully by his side, just as she had done for over 6 decades. Their partnership was more than a marriage. It was a living testament to loyalty, grace, and unwavering commitment. A life lived in quiet dignity. If Patricia were to speak for herself, she might say very little. She was never one to seek the spotlight or tell stories about her own sacrifices. Instead, she might talk about a young man she met who loved the Bible more than anything else. Someone who didn't promise fame or fortune, but offered his hand in partnership with a solemn vow to serve God, come what may. She might share memories of their early years in a cramped apartment, where the hum of sermon preparation mingled with the laughter and cries of their children. Nights filled with study, days full of prayer, and countless moments of quiet hope and anxiety. These were the real textures of their life together. She might speak of the struggles and joys they faced, not as headlines or public dramas, but as the intimate, sacred parts of their journey. Patricia probably never imagined that her life would be entwined with the story of one of the most influential pastors of modern times. All she ever wanted was to be faithful to God, to her husband, and to the calling that shaped their path. And faithful she was. Through every triumph and trial, every high and low, her steady presence never wavered. She was the quiet foundation beneath a life of public service, the unsung hero behind a ministry that changed lives. A legacy of faith and family. The story of John MacArthur is often told through the lens of his powerful preaching, prolific writing, and unwavering theological convictions. But at the heart of that story beats a family legacy that runs just as deep, one shaped not only by the sharpness of doctrine, but by the gentleness of love, the humility of character, and the warmth of a home built on faith. Their children, now adults carrying their own responsibilities and callings, bear more than the weight of their father's theological legacy. They carry the imprint of their mother's love, a love that formed the foundation of their childhood and continues to shape their lives today. Patricia's steady presence, her quiet encouragement, and her example of unwavering faithfulness created a home where truth was not just spoken, but lived. To their grandchildren, Papa John is not just the pastor seen on television or heard in countless sermons. He is a grandfather whose family tradition is rich with prayer, grace, and faithfulness. Stories told at family gatherings often reflect a man who was deeply human, patient, attentive, and devoted to the people God had placed in his life. As we look back on the life of John MacArthur, it feels only right to honor Patricia alongside him. Behind every sermon preached, every book published, every conference held, and every broadcast aired, there stood a woman who never sought applause or public recognition, but who, without question, deserves it all. Her life of faithful partnership is the backbone of a ministry that touched millions. The unseen hand behind ministry's strength. When we think of John MacArthur's ministry, images often come to mind of powerful sermons delivered with authority, books that have shaped countless lives, and a voice that echoed in churches and homes around the world. But beneath that public figure is a story of partnership, a story that is incomplete without recognizing the quiet, steadfast presence of Patricia MacArthur. Patricia was the unseen half of every victory in that ministry. While John's voice thundered from pulpits and lecture halls, her hands worked diligently in the quiet, often unseen corners of their life together. She was the encourager during long days and nights, the prayer warrior who stayed up when the world slept, the caregiver who nurtured their children, and the steady anchor holding their family firm when challenges threatened to overwhelm. If you have been blessed by John's teaching, it is worth remembering that in many ways you have also been blessed by Patricia's faithfulness. Her unwavering support gave John the strength to stand firm and speak boldly. Her prayers undergirded his courage. Her love was the shelter where storms of public scrutiny could not reach. Ministry success is often measured in visible ways: crowds reached, books sold, influence wielded. But true ministry strength, the kind that endures beyond the spotlight, often lives in the invisible. The daily sacrifices made by a spouse, the whispered prayers offered in the solitude of night, and the quiet commitment to a shared purpose, even when no one is watching. Patricia was, and remains, a living testament to this truth. Behind every great man of God is a woman of God whose faith and love shape the course of history in ways the world rarely sees. A call to reflect. What kind of faith will we live? As the world watches and prays during these tender moments in the MacArthur family's life, we are invited not only to honor John MacArthur, but to celebrate the life they built together. Their story isn't marked by glitter or applause, but by grit, allegiance, and an unwavering promise kept through decades filled with both joy and hardship. Their partnership challenges us to ask ourselves some important questions. What kind of love do we build in our own homes? Is it sturdy enough to withstand the storms that come? What kind of faith do we demonstrate when no one else is watching? When the applause has faded and only quiet loyalty remains? In an age where public success is often pursued at the cost of private integrity, the MacArthur's journey reminds us that faithfulness isn't about perfection or popularity. It's about showing up day after day, loving without condition, and serving without expectation of recognition. Their lives together call us to live with authenticity and courage, to love deeply and remain steadfast, even when the road is steep and lonely. Share your story, inspired by faithfulness. If the story of John and Patricia MacArthur has touched your heart, if the example of their marriage and ministry has inspired you, take a moment now to share your thoughts. How has Pastor MacArthur's teaching influenced your life? Has Patricia's quiet devotion spoken to you in ways words alone cannot fully express? Your story matters. When you share it, you join a community that treasures faith, family, and fidelity, values that sustained the MacArthurs through every season of their journey. In a world that often forgets the power of steadfast love and loyalty, these qualities remain a beacon of hope and strength. Whether it's a lesson learned from one of John's sermons, the comfort found in his books, or the inspiration drawn from Patricia's silent faithfulness, your experiences become part of a larger story. A story that honors real, enduring faithfulness. By sharing, you help keep this legacy alive, reminding others that true ministry and marriage are built not on fame or fortune, but on daily acts of love and commitment. If this message has encouraged you, consider passing it on to someone who might need a reminder of what genuine faithfulness looks like. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire, uplift, and remind us why faith family, and fidelity still matter deeply. Final tribute, A Husband's Love. John MacArthur's words about Patricia revealed the depth of their lifelong bond. A love built on respect, gratitude, and a shared walk of faith through every joy and trial. You have been my strength, my covering, and my greatest earthly blessing, he once said. I've watched you serve God with unwavering faith and lead with truth no matter the cost. Loving you and walking beside you has been my highest honor. Rest now, my love, in the arms of our Savior. These heartfelt words echo a lifetime of shared struggles, triumphs, and unwavering devotion. They paint a portrait of a marriage rooted deeply in faith and mutual respect, a partnership that sustained one of the most influential voices in modern Christianity. Honoring Patricia means honoring the quiet sacrifices and enduring grace that supported John's ministry. Behind every public figure is a private story of love, sacrifice, and steadfast commitment. A story that often goes unseen but shapes everything that the world witnesses. Patricia's life reminds us that true ministry is not just what happens on the stage or the pulpit, but in the faithfulness of those who stand beside us, walk with us, and love us through it all. Your one click can help us keep creating awesome stuff.